When buyers first enter the northwest London property market, many assume that the asking price is fixed. They see a property listed at a certain figure and immediately start calculating whether they can afford it. What they often don't realise is that the asking price is exactly that, an asking price. It is not always the final price a property sells for. In fact, some of the most successful buyers are not necessarily those with the largest budgets. They are the ones who understand how to negotiate effectively. They know when to make an offer, how to justify it, and most importantly, how to position themselves as attractive buyers. The first thing to understand is that negotiation begins long before you submit an offer. It starts with research. Walking into a negotiation without understanding the local market is like sitting an exam without revising. Before making any offer, you should have a clear picture of what similar properties in the area have been listed and sold for. If comparable homes have recently sold for less than the asking price, that information can help support your position. Many buyers make the mistake of focusing solely on what they are willing to pay. Sellers, however, are focused on what they believe their property is worth. The strongest negotiations happen when you can bridge that gap with facts rather than opinions. A well-researched offer tends to carry far more weight than simply offering a lower figure without explanation. Timing can also play a major role in determining how much flexibility a seller may have. A property that has only just come onto the market may attract significant interest, making it less likely that the owner will entertain a reduced offer. On the other hand, if a property has been available for several weeks or even months, the seller may be more open to negotiation, particularly if viewings have been limited or previous deals have fallen through. Understanding the seller's motivation can provide a significant advantage. Some homeowners are under no pressure to move and are happy to wait for the right offer. Others may be relocating, downsizing, dealing with a chain, or working towards a specific deadline. The more you understand the circumstances behind the sale, the better positioned you are to structure an offer that appeals to the seller's priorities. Another factor that is often overlooked is buyer strength. Sellers do not simply choose the highest number, they also consider the likelihood of the transaction completing smoothly. A buyer with a mortgage agreement in principle, a solicitor ready to proceed, and finances organised can sometimes be more attractive than someone offering slightly more money but carrying greater uncertainty. This is why preparation matters so much. Before negotiating, make sure your financial position is clear. Demonstrating that you are ready to move forward can strengthen your bargaining position and encourage sellers to take your offer seriously. When it comes to making the offer itself, confidence is important, but realism matters too. Some buyers submit extremely low offers in the hope of securing a bargain. While there are occasions where this approach works, it can also damage credibility if the offer appears disconnected from market reality. Sellers are far more likely to engage when they feel an offer has been carefully considered rather than randomly calculated. Communication is equally important. Negotiation should not feel confrontational. The goal is not to win against the seller. The goal is to reach an agreement that both sides can accept. Buyers who remain professional, respectful, and flexible often achieve better outcomes than those who approach negotiations aggressively. One useful strategy is to identify factors that may justify a reduction. Perhaps the property requires renovation. Maybe the kitchen or bathroom needs updating. There could be maintenance issues that will create additional costs after purchase. Highlighting these factors allows you to explain the reasoning behind your offer in a constructive way. It is also worth remembering that negotiation is rarely a single conversation. There may be counter-offers, further discussions, and compromises along the way. Flexibility can be valuable. If a seller rejects your first offer, that does not necessarily mean the opportunity has disappeared. many successful property purchases involve several rounds of discussion before both parties reach an agreement. Emotions can often become a buyer's greatest obstacle. It is easy to fall in love with a property and become so focused on securing it that you abandon your negotiating strategy altogether. While enthusiasm is natural, maintaining objectivity is essential. A property should make sense financially as well as emotionally. In competitive parts of northwest London, buyers sometimes fear that negotiating will cause them to lose the property to somebody else. While this can happen in highly sought-after areas, making a sensible offer based on evidence is not unreasonable. The key is understanding local demand and adapting your approach accordingly. Professional guidance can also be invaluable during negotiations. Experienced property professionals understand local pricing trends, buyer competition, and seller expectations. Their insight can help buyers avoid overpaying while still remaining competitive in the market. Perhaps the most important lesson is that successful negotiation is not about securing the lowest possible price. It is about achieving fair value. Paying slightly less than the asking price can be beneficial, but paying the right price for the right property is often far more important in the long run. At the end of the day, every property and every seller is different. There is no universal formula that guarantees a discount. However, buyers who conduct thorough research, understand market conditions, present themselves strongly, and negotiate professionally often place themselves in the best position to achieve a favourable outcome. So, can you negotiate below the asking price in northwest London? Absolutely, but the buyers who succeed are rarely relying on luck. They succeed because they understand the market, prepare carefully, and approach negotiations with confidence, patience, and a clear strategy. And in a market as competitive as northwest London, that combination can make all the difference.